yet the cost of living is, it's going up, but the salary is not increasing. If anything, there's been a drop in rates.
Hi, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lynda Eze. I'm a registered nurse, and on this channel I share information on how you can study, work and thrive abroad. So don't be a stranger in this channel. Subscribe and hit the bell icon so that anytime I come out with a video, you'll be able to see it, because I believe you or your family members or your friends will benefit from the information I share on this channel. So without further ado,
okay, hello, hi everybody. My name is Lola. I'm a UK RN and a USRN. Those of you that know me from my YouTube channel, which is Lip Gloss and Cake Pop, but I've managed to change the name just to plain Lola's. But yeah, so if you don't already know me from YouTube, my name is Lola, UK USRN. I'm in the middle of the transition back to the US. I was a USRN before, back in 2013. I was in the US for about 2-ish years before I came back to the UK. Lynda wants to ask me some questions in regards to my transition to the US, and then of course the steps that I took to get my credential evaluation sorted out, and why I'm going back to the United States as an RN. So my journey for the US was a long-term journey. Even before I became an RN here in the UK, that was my destination. That really was one of the reasons why I became an RN, why I went to nursing school. So in the preparation of, trying to get my qualification to actually go to the US, I knew that being a nurse was going to open doors for me to be able to go to any country to work. And I think those of you know that that's the best thing to do if you want to travel. So I started the process of getting into school, studying, and making sure that I got my RN qualification. Once I finished my BSc, before I finished my BSc, my research had been done extensively. So in my 3rd year of my nursing degree, I started making the preparations, and the preparations for my transition for me to make my application to CGFNS was for me to make sure that all my required hours would meet the requirements of a USRN. Because what happened was, I was finding through reading on the internet that nurses who were trained in the UK were having problems with their credential evaluations with CGFNS. Basically, CGFNS was saying a UK trained RN did not have the right qualification to transition as an RN in the United States. It wasn't a big difference. It was just some minor hours in some areas like mental health and pediatrics. So before I left university in my 3rd year, I made sure I went and did those hours that were not part of my course, my RN course. So when I did that, I was able to get my university to verify that for me, because I realized that I was going to have some problems when I applied for CGFNS. And when I made my application to CGFNS, it took 8 months for them to get back to me. And in that period, I called them every week to find out what was happening with my file. Eventually, I spoke to someone who allowed me to speak to the person in charge of my case. And she said she was just about to deny me. So she said, I was going to send your file back and say that your study, your BSc, did not meet the requirements of a USRN. So how can we get around this? So I explained to her that I had done my research and I had done those hours. Is there any way I can prove it since it wasn't broken down in my transcript? And she said, yes, if you can get a letter from your dean to verify, and then send me those CAD documents that you had where you did the reflective essays, then we can, you know, go ahead and allow you to do your NCLEX exam. So that's exactly what I did. And I do know that a lot of nurses now who are trained in the UK are having similar problems. They're not able to meet the requirements for CGFNS. So yeah, that was the portion, the first step that I took. The second part was that I did work in ICU for I believe about 5 years before I moved to the US. You do not need ICU experience. That was just me wanting to give myself a better chance of passing NCLEX, because during the time I was in ICU is when I passed my NCLEX. And this was going back 2009 when I passed NCLEX. So NCLEX has changed drastically since then. I had I think it was like 265 questions. It's reduced now. What is it now, Lynda? How many questions now?
I think I also wrote that number of when I did mine, it was still the same, yeah. But now I think it's 145 or so. I'm not sure about it, but it's 100 and something now. They reduced it.
Right, yeah. So it has been reduced drastically since I took mine. So anyway, I passed my NCLEX, and then I started the process of, you know, how I was going to get to the US, right? So I did not go through an agency like, you know, I'm going through an agency currently. I was married. So I went with a K1 visa. So my process was relatively quick. Within 6 months, I was already in the US with a K1 visa. So those of you who have spouses who are Americans, that process is a lot quicker than going through an agency.
Can you really share exactly what you do for now? Because it looks like you have been a UKRN for a long time and a USRN for a long time. Mm-hmm. Now, have you seen exactly how registered nurses in the UK can meet up with the CGFNS? Is there a clear way? Because I've spoken with someone on Instagram that wants to come to the US recently, and she told me she got a job and she is trained. She had her RN from the UK and she was able to do that. So do you know exactly, do you have the steps on how people do that these days? Do they have to take courses?
Okay, so I've had a lot of people messaging me on Instagram with the same problem, and it's mainly the UK nurses that are having this problem with the credential evaluation. Now, I am looking into, I have somebody that's actually made an application, which she's keeping me informed of how her process is going. CGFNS seems to be the more difficult one for UKRNs, where they literally are saying that you don't meet the requirements because you know, you're missing those hours in maybe mental health or P's or whatever. And it also depends on what university you went to. My advice to people is, that's the student nurses who are just going into nursing now, or who are maybe halfway through their nursing practice. They need to find out from the university if those hours are part of that course, of the nursing course that they're doing. Now, if it is not part of the course, you will need to find a way to meet those hours before you graduate. That is an essential, because once you graduated, it is pretty much too late for you. Okay. So for those of you who are already qualified as nurses, many years ago, City University used to do that transition course. It was like, you know, they would do like an essay or something that you would do in those areas that you were missing, like you'd write a reflective piece for mental health or child, and I believe it was quite a lot of money, like 1,000 something, to do it, but they stopped the course. So that was that bridging to help nurses to get to the US. Now that they've stopped the course, and they stopped it many years ago, so that is not possible anymore for people to register for City University to go and make up those hours. So the only thing I can say is keep you informed, because ERES, which is another credential evaluation service similar to CGFNS, they seem to be a bit more like, okay, what can we do to help you? The person who is currently going through them, who's keeping me informed, said they have asked her for her syllabus, because it seems as if she does not meet the requirement, but they've actually reached out to her and asked her for her syllabus. And we believe it's because they want to see if there's any of those hidden hours inside the syllabus. Because when you look at the nursing course and the breakdown of it, they will have those things in there. Maybe just touch on it. It won't be, like, a whole, maybe however many hours of that particular course. They will touch on it somehow. So ERES has asked her for a syllabus. Now, she's requested that syllabus from her university. So we're hoping that through that and the syllabus, they can pick something out of it to, as we say, let my people go and allow her to do her NCLEX exam. So that's what we're waiting on. But I will certainly keep you informed about that, because I think that will be helpful for those nurses that are already qualified to go through ERES. Okay. But we're not sure exactly if ERES will allow those people who don't have those hours to move on to do NCLEX. So that's where we're at the moment. But for the student nurses, you've still got an opportunity to do that. What I did as a student nurse was I went and did a wellbeing center in the community. In the community, I was able to, do mental health. I was able to do child nursing. So that's what allowed me to qualify for the NCLEX exam, to get my ATT. Without me planning ahead, I would not have qualified to get my ATT to do the NCLEX. So okay. That's really where we're at the moment, yeah.
Well, that's good. I know that when I was still in London, that I went for the open interview for the agency that I'm currently with, and some UK trained RNs that were there, they were told to take courses. I remember they were telling them to take courses, but I'm not sure where exactly they expect them to take those courses. Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing that. How about now that you're getting ready to go back to the US? So you don't have your child must be grown by now, or what's the reason? What's making you to now go back to the US at this time?
Okay. So if you're a UK nurse, you will know that the cost of living has skyrocketed. It's all over the world, just due to different circumstances, the pandemic and then the war in Ukraine and all of that stuff. So the salaries is not particularly going up, yet the cost of living is, it's going up, but the salary is not increasing. If anything, there's been a drop in rates for nurses. So my reason for going back is because it would allow me to increase my salary. Okay. So that's really more the reason why I'm going back. And there's plenty of opportunities as well to expand yourself, maybe to go back into study, maybe to do some kind of business. But, that's really my reason, because the fact that in the UK, nurses seems to be struggling with the cost of living. And at the moment, there's possibly a strike that's going to happen. We don't know yet, because they're demanding more pay for NHS workers. But yeah, so that's really my reason of going back.
Thank you so much for that honest opinion. I believe that a lot of people have different reasons why they want to move to the US. And I think, in my own opinion, moving to the US as a nurse is actually a good option. I would say it's a good option. It's good to practice as a nurse anywhere you are around the world, but going to the US as well, working in those like in Africa, in the UK and the US, I can say that US has like, it's a more like, it's very open. You can do a lot of things with a nursing degree without struggling so much in the US. You can also do a lot in the UK, but you need it comes with some kind of challenges, like it's a lot of sacrifice. So it's a good option, it's a good reason to move to the US. So thank you so much, Lola, for this time. I really appreciate you. If you do the last, like anybody that wants to transition to the US from all your experiences, what are your best 2 tips for them before we go?
Okay, so number 1, do your research. Always check, you know, what you need, what your requirements are. It's really, really important that you do your research. Yeah. Number 2, I would say seriously make sure that whatever agency that you decide to go with, that you're getting the best deal out of that agency, because there's plenty of agencies that will offer you, you know, this and that, but you want to be sure that the salary they're offering you meets with what the number of years of experience that you have as a nurse and the number of years of experience that a nurse in America has. They say like they basically you're having the same equivalent salary or as close to possible the equivalent salary of an American nurse. Because what you don't want is you don't want the agency that you go with to be shortchanging you. And there are plenty of them out there that will shortchange you. Okay. Be careful when you sign contracts. Always read through your contract very well. I would say, in my opinion, I would rather a 2-year contract than a 3-year contract. So if you can get a 2-year contract, great. Because if you do not like this place or the facility, it's easier to close your eyes for 2 years than it is for 3 years. Isn't that right, Lynda?
It's just that the challenge is that they usually don't give number of years. So many agencies that I've seen, they don't give number of years, they give you number of hours. So it's now up to you how many years you want to finish the number of hours. So I think that's the common thing that we see, number of hours. Yes.
Right.
So, but that's a good point. It's good to negotiate. Don't be scared. Like I keep telling people, don't be scared. They are also human beings. It's a business they are doing. They are in an office. So you have all the right to ask questions and negotiate. Exactly. If it doesn't work for you, you can ask another agency and then you choose. So you don't say because I'm applying from wherever country that you're applying for, you just go with anything they offer. So you just have to be bold to negotiate and, you know, ask questions and everything, because it will be very helpful for you. You have gone through nursing, so you don't want to allow someone else to just like, you know, because they are offering you, then they can just give you anything. No, so you have to negotiate. Right. So thank you so much, Lola. I appreciate your time and all your tips. Really, really helpful. And I hope to see you again sometime. And I really wish you good luck as you transition to the US again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I hope that, you know, we'll see. We'll do another interview again. Maybe I'll be the one doing it this time.
Yes. And guys, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Go to her YouTube channel, subscribe, ask her questions. If you're in the process already, ask her questions. And I believe she will have valuable tips and guidance to give you as you get ready to go to the US. And even when she gets to the US, at least you have someone that you can ask questions as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're in the Florida area, that's where I'm going, you know, let me know.